All right, you guys. So you made your plan yesterday. And I'm sure that it was kind of tricky to think about the ins and the outs. And I will tell you that as you start to execute this plan, you will see where it's a problem for you and what adjustments need to be made. And remember that you are a non emotional scientist collecting data in this situation, and that that's what it is. It's not a reflection of your success or your failure, your kids' goodness or opposite of goodness, badness, whatever. It's none of that. It's you guys all just trying to figure it out. Okay, so we talked about the steps in the plan that you're going to make. That you are going to identify and communicate your boundaries. So when you're executing the plan, that is step 1. You've identified these, you are going to communicate them clearly to the kids. Okay? You are going to communicate them once. Okay? Hear me. Once. Our kids do not listen because they know that we'll remind them 1,000,000 times. Our kids will wait for us to yell because they know that that's when that we're serious. We are now going to let our words be for connection instead of for correction. I want to drive this message home so much to you guys. Okay? Communicate the boundary once and then zip your lips and let actions do all the talking from here on out so that when you're interacting with your kids, it can be warm and connecting and pointing out the positive and giving them praise and celebrating their successes and seeing what's good in them instead of being the referee, the judge, the jury, and the executioner in all of the sibling squabbles. You are not allowed to talk to your kids about those things anymore. You're not allowed to get involved in those things anymore. Instead, you are communicating your expectations, and then you are silently and empathetically and non emotionally as possible executing the plan. Okay, so that is so that's that. So you've communicated the boundaries once. So this is how we're executing the plan. And then second, we are backing off and we're letting them choose. This is hard to do because we know that they are going to cross the boundary and that there's going to be an uncomfortable consequence and that our kids are going to be uncomfortable. And that when they're uncomfortable, either our heart gets achy for them or they start to rev up and kind of intensify in their own behavior, and that can make us apprehensive to execute the plan. But we're going to talk through how to give this consequence. And we've talked about this a little bit, but we're going to do the reiteration, okay? So first, duct tape your lips. Let the consequence do the talking. So say that the plan that you had in place was for them bickering in the back of the car. You explain your expectations one time, and then you get into the car, and then if they start to bicker, you don't say anything. You don't remind them, you don't warn them, you don't threaten them, you don't beg them, you don't plead with them, you don't do any of those things. You say nothing. You are just turning your car around or putting your plan into motion. That's it. Okay? We don't want to give the behavior that's negative a lot of attention because that actually reinforces the behavior in our kids' minds. I want my mom's attention, so I'm going to use this negative behavior because then she's going to pay attention to me. So we do not want to be reinforcing the negative behavior. We do not want to be giving it any attention. We just want to give it an earned consequence. Okay? Use those words for connection, not correction. Remember that when you are executing the plan, your job, and it is hard, and we can hold each other and vent to each other during this, is to stay in a place of love and compassion. And if you can't get into that place, go and cool off for a little bit and then come back. At least try to stay neutral in your emotions. Okay? If you start to intensify your emotions, that is showing the kids that their behavior is bothering you and is a problem for you, and that actually reinforces the behavior too. We want them to feel like this problem behavior is only bugging them so that they're left thinking this isn't fun. This is only bugging me. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the concept that with a bully, If you stop reacting to what the bully does to you, it robs it of its reinforcement and of its fun for the bully. And so the bully will leave the person alone. So that's the same situation that we're trying to create here, is not reacting so that it sucks all the fun out of it for the kids. And they're left realizing nobody's being bothered by this but me and my sibling. Okay. And mom is confident in my ability to work this out and to stand up for myself and to solve this problem, and how empowering for the child to realize that they can solve their problem. Okay. But you are going to offer lots of love and empathy, because remember, you still struggle with your human relationships too. And you know how hard it is to be a sibling and to live with somebody all the time. And so we offer that compassion to show them we understand. Okay. What the hey is going on there? When you give a consequence, your kids may try to negotiate with you. They may try to beg and plead or argue or fight. Walk away. Do not engage in any sort of power struggle at all. Now, we talked about these top mistakes. So the last thing that I wanted to cover is, when you are executing this plan, you need to redefine what works. So we'll have parents come to us after trying this for a short period of time, and they'll say, it's not working. And we say, well, how do you define what works? And the definition to most of us is that in this example, the sibling squabble ends and they no longer fight with each other. Well, that part is out of our control. And there is an element of, well, maybe we're not making it their problem enough, and so they're not feeling self-motivated to change. But we want to switch your mindset from seeing that your success as a parent is based on the outcomes of what your kids choose to do or not to do. That is such a dangerous position to be in, because we have no control over that. And you could be Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way, and still have a child who could be the complete opposite. Despite all of your best efforts, despite all of your love and your warmth and your empathy and your boundaries and your ownership and all of those different things, you could still have a child that struggles. So when we are executing a plan, we encourage you as parents to have your success of the plan not be measured by the outcome, but by your choices, by what was in your boundary of control, what you chose to do. Did you communicate your boundaries clearly? Were you firm about those boundaries? Did you give them the freedom to choose? Did you make problem choices a problem for them and figure out how it wouldn't be a problem for you, how to not let it be a problem for you? If you did all of those things, you may need to tweak something along the way, like giving more control or having the problem behavior be more a problem for them, or maybe there's not enough warmth and love and empathy. And that's where we would love to work with you one-on-one and be able to coach you and help you tweak those things. But if you feel like you did all of those things, trust the process, give it time, and say, I'm doing what works, and I will give it time. So, like I mentioned, if you have more questions on your process and if it needs some tweaking, you can always call or text Janet, and we can set you up and get you some help, some coaching sessions. Anyway, so that is the executing of the plan, that you've made it, and then you put it into place with as few words as possible, as little emotion as possible, and then you trust the process, redefining what works. So really, for today, you just need to execute your plan and start putting it into place, and you can report to us what went well, what didn't go well, and just let us know what your emotional state was during it, maybe where you struggled, if you have any of those things to share. But what we really want you to be doing right now at this point is putting the plan into motion and letting the plan do the teaching.